Hello, 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 hello. How are you? This is Els coming to you from Bemis Crafty Corner, and today we're going to pick up, in this video, we're going to pick up where I left off in the previous video. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, make sure you go check out part 1 so you can get all caught up. And today we're going to be talking about part 2 of this, and that's kind of measuring to put our mats in and then getting started on the decorating. So we're going to be using a mock-up just to kind of go over the measuring part, and I'm going to show you why. I can't say to you that all of the mats are going to be the same size because we're going 4.5 this way and then scoring and folding these back. Some of these may be slightly smaller or slightly larger. So like this one here, we're going to measure to this part, and that is only 4 inches. So if you want to put 1/8 of an inch of a mat on this one, let me get my pencil, the way that this will work is, since this is 4 inches and we know that this is 7 inches, the mat for this particular piece with 1/8 of an inch on the outside, you may want to do 1/4, it's entirely up to you, but to do 1/8 of an inch, you would take 1/4 of an inch off the width, so this would become 3 3/4, and you would take 1/4 of an inch here, so that would be 6 3/4. Oops, broke the pencil lead. So if I'm going to cut a piece of paper to fit on here, mat it, I'm going to want to cut a piece that's 6 3/4 by 3 3/4. So let me just show you how that works. So I have a piece of scrapbook paper. It's not going to fit into the little cutter, so let me use this one. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut my 3 3/4. And then I'm going to cut my piece that is 6 3/4. All right, and then this piece, when I round my corners, is going to give me 1/8 of an inch from this line all the way around. Okay, now this piece will fit on this piece, absolutely, it's going to fit there perfectly, but it's not going to fit here. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm going to fold that back so you can see it a little better. So this is our line right here, so you can see that it's too narrow to fit in this spot. So you're going to have to measure every panel and every flap. Okay, so once you get all of those measured for yourself, they're almost always going to be either 6.5 or 6 3/4, depends on whether you want 1/4 of an inch at the top and bottom, or if you want 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so if you want 1/4 of an inch here and 1/4 of an inch here, your measurement is 6.5. If you want 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch down here, then your number is going to be 6 3/4. Okay, and I'm going to, of course, put all of the measurements that I can help you with into the description below, so you'll be able to kind of figure it out on your own. When in doubt, put a piece of paper on it and go, ooh, I got to cut this much off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get those measurements. I'll put those measurements in the bottom there, but I'm going to show you the rest of the process that I did in putting this together. All right, so I've cut down all my papers from front to back, and I have them sort of, laid in where they're going to go throughout the book. And so the next part of this is going to be to ink the papers and get those glued down. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. And give you the opportunity to get yours done as well. And then, you know, we'll get to decorating, because that's the fun part, right? All right, so I'm just going to ink these edges because I don't want to look at the white line on the sides. Now this is cardstock, so I can use a wet glue. If you're using scrapbook paper, and there is some scrapbook paper in here that I decided to use, so if you're using scrapbook paper, you may want to use tape as opposed to a wet glue. So you don't get the crinkles and the wrinkles and all that stuff. Let's take a look. Let's find the actual piece of scrapbook paper that I'm using. And it's this piece right here. Let me close this up. Okay, so this is the piece that's actual scrapbook paper. We're going to put this in with some tape. Let's see. So I'm just going to move this over. And let's get this inked up first. Alright, so we're all inked up. And you can use any width tape that you want. This is a 1/4 inch. And I'm going to put some just around the edges first. And then I will put some on the inside here. And the reason I'm doing, alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this one corner where I haven't taken any of the tape off yet. And then the rest of this will fall into place. So, now that we have all of our paper inked and glued in, it's time to think about these pockets. So, So we have a pocket here, and then there's a pocket up here, and the pocket that's here, and one here, and one here, and this one. So we have 3 top pockets and 3, I think it's 3 side pockets. Let me check. 1, 2, 3. Yep, 3 tops and 3 sides. So the next part of the process is actually making the tags. You're going to need 3 top loading tags and 3 side loading tags, and they're not the same size. So first we have here is a side pocket, and then we'd have a top pocket. So if you're using shorter journaling cards, you may want to consider gluing this further up before you glue it all together. Otherwise, we're going to be cutting some tags to go in here. And what I'd like to do is take about 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch off, up to 3/4 of an inch. Just depends how wide I want this to be. And then I don't want my depth to be more than the shortest part of the pocket. So we're going to measure that real quick. And for this one, it is just about 3 7/8 from the edge to the crease. So I'm going to go, say, 3 5/8. And then we know this is 7, so I'm going to go 6 by 3 5/8. Okay? So let me go ahead and cut that. Let's go. Three 5/8. Okay. And then I need to have 6. And we are at roughly 7 1/2. So I'll take 1 1/2 inches off. And this should fit nicely into this pocket. And it does. Okay. So that one will work for there. And then for this one, we're going to do a 6 1/2 by 4, 6 1/2 by 4. So I'm going to cut this at 4 inches. And we are at about 7 1/2. So we're going to take just about 1 inch off of that. And we're going to check this in our top pocket to make sure that it fits. And it does, but it's just a little tight, so I'm going to just trim a tiny bit off the edge here. So maybe take this to 3 7/8. And we're going to try that again just to fit it. Helps if I open it up. There we go. Okay. And that fits in there nicely. So I'm going to cut 3 tags each of these 2 sizes, okay? And that's going to help me to put my tags in. So let's go ahead and watch me actually doing that in the video. So now I have all my little journaling cards, my tags that are going to be going in, and I want to put tabs on them. So this is the first one, it's the side load. So I went ahead and I just made a tab for this so that when I put it in, it shows up. And then on this one, I just used a strip of paper and just nipped the corners on it. I'm going to show you how to do that. And I used a 1-inch strip because I used a 1-inch punch when I did my hole. So we're going to do the next one. And for this one, we want the tab to be down here, okay? So over the moon. So I'm going to get this out of the way for a second. We're going to do this. So to do this, you're going to cut just about a 1-inch strip, 1 1/8, just a little over, okay? And then you're going to crease this. This is at 1 1/4, so I'm going to crease this right here in the middle. And then I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to burnish it with a lot of pressure, okay? And then if you have one of these tab punches, you can use a tab punch. If you don't have a tab punch, then I'll show you how to do this without the tab punch. So I'm going to fit this in, and I'm going to make sure that my fold is up here at this point. That's the fold, and this is my bottom. And I'm making sure that my fold is just below there. And then you're going to punch it out. Okay? Now, if you're using cardstock, it's a little bit stiff, a little hard to get it into the punch, but you can do it. And then this way, what happens is that little top piece is still together. So then I'll ink this up. On both sides. And we know that this one has to go like over the moon. So a little bit of glue. Now this is a dry process. You're not going to be putting anything like into this. So if you wanted to use double-sided tape here, you certainly could. Put a little bit of glue on the other side as well. And then I'm just going to take this little tab and I'm just going to line it up with my paper. And then I'm going to fold it under. So now I've created a tab, and we can go in here and place this in. And you can see the little tab sticks out. That's what we want. So we're going to do the next one. That's a top one. So let me show you how that goes. All right. So again, for this one, I'm going to cut a strip. It's about 1 1/4 inches. We're going to do 1 inch. Okay. So I've got my strip that's 1 inch, and I want it to be about 2.5 this way. And then I'm going to take my scoreboard. I'm going to put this in, and I'm at 1.5 inches, so I want to go to 2.5, so I'm going to go to 1 1/4, which is the halfway point, and score that. And then I'm going to fold it. Make sure that it's all nice and even. Okay? And then I'm going to take my circle, and I'm just going to nip off the corner. Now I could corner around this if I wanted to. So whichever direction I want this to go. And I think I'll take a little more on this one. There we So now I have my little tab, and again, I'll just ink it up all the way around on both sides. And then I'll take my top tag. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on both sides of this. And then I'm going to find my middle point. I'm going to come a little bit down over my matte paper. I'm going to attach. And then this slides right in. Okay. Alrighty, so I went ahead and during the editing process, I realized how long this video was getting. I try to keep them under about 25 to 30 minutes, and this one was already at like 27, so I didn't want to risk it. So I'm going to do a part 3, and in part 3, we're going to go ahead and do the decorating, and then we'll do the final look at, okay? So that's going to do it for this episode. Listen, if you haven't already, go and check out part 1. There's a link in the description below, as well as all the measurements that I can give you. I think that's about it. If you're new here and you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe for me, and like me, ring my bell, and share me with all your friends. Then your friends can be my friends, and my friends can be your friends, and our friends can get to be friends. And before you know it, we have a giant crafting friendly community. Until the next time, stay safe. Bye-bye.